Right, let's get moving again. I'm pretty sure that the Pixel Remaster gives the hovercraft a sound effect of some kind as it's moving around. It's not a big quality of life change, but still, it really does help to make it feel a little more satisfying moving around in this thing. Though I don't suppose it's all that necessary considering we don't use the hovercraft much in this game. Still, it's something that itched at me here. That's the ice in our way? I was under the impression it was a wall of ice, not a bunch of ice, balls just sitting there. Hell, when I saw it in the Pixel Remaster and the remake of Final Fantasy IV, it definitely looks more like a wall there. I have absolutely no clue why this version of the game made this barrier just look so much worse. I know this is a big moment for Rydia, but the way Rosa goes about making this happen just doesn't work for me. Hell, part of me kind of wishes that her distaste for fire was more of a thing for a longer period of time in the game. Maybe giving us some more moments over the course of the story where she recoils from fire, or maybe have her go berserk when fighting a monster that's made of fire. Just a little something to give it a bit more spice. So that's it then. Rosa just says we need fire to move on. Edward says Rydia has been so helpful so far. And with the power of adults pressuring a child, the trauma is gone. I'm sorry, I really need to flag that play there. I get that this is the first time the series has ever tried to have a character moment like this, but come on. It feels a bit throwaway the way it's been pulled off. Ugh. And of course, the first monsters we fight after learning fire are monsters that will absorb fire magic. Well, I was certainly banking on them being weak to ice. That blizzard spell did not have much impact here. Come on, those bomb things are most definitely made of fire. And it's not like there's some kind of water spell around here. The elements a black mage can play around with are ice, fire, and lightning for the entire game. While there are some later game spells like gravity and earthquake, those three elements are the main ones to work with. So excuse me for thinking that fire and ice should be weak to one another. But I suppose that does leave things a slight bit awkward for lightning. Especially since there aren't going to be all that many technological enemies, so no chance to burn out the circuits of any robots. We also didn't see much of anything from lightning when we were fighting against some aquatic enemies earlier in the game. Maybe the whole elemental weakness thing is a bit less self-explanatory in Final Fantasy than it is for numerous other RPGs. Anyway, that wasn't too much of a break at that save point, but around here it's generally a good idea to use whatever save points you stumble across. It's not like I have all that much of an idea of what we're going to be in for next. I only have vague memories of this game. And it's not like I know how long it's going to take for us to reach the next explicit save point. Well, those arrows are certainly doing a respectable amount of damage for the most part. Rosa is certainly going to do a good job of defying the usual expectation of white mages not being all that capable in a fight. At least, so long as her ammo holds out. And again, the whole arrow ammunition thing stopped being a thing for the Pixel Remaster of this game. And I'm pretty sure it's not much of a thing in the remake of it either. It's just annoying to have to keep track of since no other weapon has to worry about keeping a good supply of ammo for it. Less than a second after we grab some holy arrows, we're attacked by the undead. At least this batch of skeletons seems to be something that Cecile can do some damage to. Not as much as striking a normal enemy, so there's still something about being a Dark Knight that makes fighting the undead far more troublesome. Still, we have healing magic, and we have fire magic. We should be able to take these guys down with some relative ease. Huh. Somehow was expecting Kier to do more damage than that, though I suppose that's how much health we'd recover if I used that same spell on 3 party members at once. Okay, I did more damage to that skeleton with a random arrow than a Cure spell. It's a bit odd, but I might talk about that later, assuming I don't forget about that conversation line altogether. Not only that, he's a distinctive-looking character, which of course means he's going to be joining our party soon. I definitely appreciate that. It's certainly been a while since Cecile has fought alongside another dedicated melee fighter. Flag on the play. The man took too many actions in a single turn. There's no way he's ever going to do that again, especially when we have control of him. No need to mess around with formations here. He's already in the best spot. Right on the front line. Okay, so ice had more of an effect on the thing called a mom bomb, but not much against the other similar-looking bombs on our way up here? That's a bit confusing. And Cecile is hitting the bastard extremely hard for this early in the game. Can I really keep calling it early when we're 7 clips in and 12 save files in? Right, so the arrows aren't doing much of anything against this particular kind of enemy. It'd probably be better to have Rosa heal Cecile a bit since he's taken a good amount of abuse here. Understandable, he's been doing more damage to this enemy than everyone else combined. Still a bit funny, all things considered. Not so funny is the fact that the bomb has decided to start growing. Not too sure why it's keeping the same name when it's now got a very distinctively different sprite here, or why none of the bombs that we've been fighting have done what bombs are known to do. Explode! By the way, I'm not much of a fan of the new appearance of the mom bomb here. The jack-o'-lantern style fireball with teeth was one thing, pretty iconic. But the cartoonish cloud thing, with a genie-style lower body and fingerless arms and a muscle pose? Pretty damn hard to take seriously. Dear God, this boss just isn't putting up much of an offense at all. He's just a damage sponge. And of course, we have no idea how much more abuse he can take before he's going to drop. I possibly should have had the new guy, Yang, use his focus attack, do more damage per strike, but I'm generally more inclined to just strike as fast as possible. was not expecting that bomb to turn into a bunch of smaller bombs after going off. That's certainly an interesting gimmick. And ice did barely anything at all here. Seriously, just why is it that using ice on something that looks like it's made of fire is having little to no effect? Okay, so Prayer, while able to heal absolutely everyone for no real cost, has a chance of absolute failure. I very much doubt I'm gonna bother with that move for a good chunk of the game. Nice to see that Edward's harp can make one of the boss's spawnlings confused. Not a lot of health per heal here, but still good enough at this point of the game. Still, there were a lot less explosions than you'd think of when fighting a bunch of creatures called bombs. And apparently, winning that battle means Rosa learned how to raise anyone who gets knocked unconscious with a spell. Yeah, that should save us some money when it comes to Phoenix Downs later on. Great. Now I have to wonder how long those monks were fighting if the finest of them got killed before we arrived. At the very least, it's clear that the monsters here are as abnormally aggressive as all the others in this game. A few days, huh? The story only explicitly had us sleep for one night. Well, it's hard to say for sure, since it's not like we're ever gonna get to see the monks fighting against average soldiers, or that it matters all that much when the enemy has airships that will most definitely stay out of punching range. Don't say no to help after just telling us your own forces are gonna be insufficient. There's surprisingly little character interaction despite all the dialogue around here. I really wish that, for example, Cecile and Rydia could have had moments to bounce off of each other, considering he's such a major part of her story. I wouldn't quite say that it's being completely glossed over, but it's certainly not being done to the degree that the potential suggests it should. And while we've got a cast with a lot of nice personalities that could have done something, we're not going to see much of any of that. And we've got a fresh character being thrown into the mix. Yang may be underleveled compared to everyone else, which seems to be a pattern around here, but still, he's good enough that he'll be able to hold his own from the moment he's been thrown in, which is more than could be said for poor Edward. Hell, it says something that the white mage of our team, the medic, is more capable physically than poor Edward was when he first started. As much as I like the fact that our healer is able to hold her own, it just feels like the game is finding plenty of ways to show that Edward really isn't built to be an RPG protagonist. And of course, we have no choice but to keep him along for the ride and to send him into these dangerous battles one after another. As a side note, kind of annoying to see that spirits absorb fire attacks while skeletons are weak to it. The spell only has two settings, either hit one target or hit all of them at once. It's not like I can get it to only shoot 2 out of the 4 in a single turn. Another fight down. You'd think I'd feel more concerned walking through here since there are some explicit skeletons on the ground. This place was considered a hostile environment long before the monsters became more ferocious. Probably why the monks considered it a good training ground. Anyway, we've crossed the mountains a lot faster than the watery caves earlier, or the, caves where we got the sand pearl. Bit odd that dungeon felt more simple than some of the earlier ones, but then I suppose not every dungeon has to be a convoluted maze. It just makes it a bit awkward to predict how long we're going to be at a given location before we move on, though. Wait, so the counterattack from the Gatling Hog didn't even get aimed at the guy who landed the hit there? That feels like complete bullshit. Wait, Edward managed to do how much damage there? Holy crap! We're certainly gonna be burning through Rose's MB in a hurry, and dear God, we're just getting ground down by the random encounters quite a bit. It's kind of weird that the random encounters so far feel more dangerous to me than many of the boss fights. That could change as we keep going forward and face more challenging foes, but it's still odd considering we're 7 clips in, about to go on to 8. Another large group of goblins taken out in a hurry. And for some reason, Edward's attack on the weaker goblin did less than the one in red. Possibly random chance there, but it's still pretty confusing. And oh dear, that's quite a number of Gatling Hogs in this group. I'm sure our crew is gonna look like pincushions after this. Please tell me that Fabul isn't all that much further from where we are right now. At the very least, our mages are definitely gonna need a rest by the time we get there. I might just regret using kick there. Well, at least we don't have to worry about each individual enemy retaliating for a multi-hit attack. That's a small mercy. We could use a lot more mercy, considering the quality of the common enemies we're seeing out here, and just how many of them counterattack. Son of a bitch! I just can't seem to figure out how much damage any of our attacks are gonna do for the most part. It's just way too random for me. And we are getting slowly worn down. Part of me is tempted to use a tent since we don't know how much longer we're gonna have to travel. Huh. Good thing we didn't use the tent because we've arrived. We didn't even have any more random encounters after that last one. Now, let's see if we can do some healing and get some better equipment before the next major thing happens. Looks like they didn't do anything to make this castle look especially unique compared to the other castles in terms of the tile sets. Everything looks like a European castle, even though the monks in here look like they'd belong in an offshoot of the Shaolin Temple. And still, at least it's got some unique layout. I should probably be spending a hell of a lot more on supplies than I have been. Guess I'm just pretty conservative considering we have 2 mages capable of using healing magic. Well, that and I don't know what kind of price range we need to deal with for equipment here. Okay, so Cecile can get better armor, but nobody else is getting anything here. And none of the weapons here are anything that would actually improve what we currently have. Sure, it could have been worse, but I certainly am not a fan of how this game is letting us gain equipment. It certainly felt like gear was distributed better in the various towns in the first Final Fantasy compared to this. Sure, there came a point where the best gear was the stuff we could scavenge from the dungeons, and the stores could not keep up with what we needed after a certain point. But we have not had all that much to buy in this game so far, despite gaining fresh characters pretty damn frequently. I was kinda hoping that Zeus's Wrath would be a weapon, not a one-use tool so a non-mage can use the most basic lightning spell. Keeping healing items is one thing. Keeping those offensive spell items just feels like a bit of a waste of space in our bag. Well, I wouldn't quite say you're prepared for anything, especially since you have a random rabbit sleeping in here. The poor girl is just not important enough to get her own sprite. Hopefully that doesn't mean she's as expendable as Anna was earlier on. Well, they've certainly got plenty of beds in this castle, that's for sure. But since we only saw one white mage in the entire place, I'm not sure they have enough medics for the sheer number of wounded a battle is probably going to bring them. But then it's not like I'm expecting to see all that much detail in the battle to come. Okay, wasn't expecting her to remove the wig and dress and reveal to be a guy. And I do like that Cecile was completely caught off guard by this. Certainly worth a chuckle or two. And I do have to wonder if the sheer number of dances in this game overall is to make up for the fact that the dancer girl from the original Final Fantasy never got to do any dancing whatsoever. They don't really add anything in terms of world building or gameplay, and they're not visually all that good. But I'm sure it was plenty of fun for the designers to make. Well, we're definitely finding plenty of items that would serve as spells for anyone without MP, but even if I wasn't planning on selling them, I'm sure I wouldn't use them all that much. Seriously, I am not that good at being able to tell what spells the enemy are vulnerable to in a given fight around here, and it's not like the spells in those items are going to be powerful enough to make up for making that kind of mistake. Going to cut this clip off at an awkward moment since there's no way we're gonna fit everything from this bit of raw footage under half an hour long. Especially since I ended up triggering a scene exploring this place, and we're not gonna be able to save or rest because I crossed a line I did not know was there. Wait. The King of Fabul looks just like the King of Baron here, and both are only referred to as King? Can't we have done something to make them more distinct from one another? Apparently, we would have saved some time just having Edward do the talking from the start. Understandable, but still. I'm sorry to say it's probably going to happen to some degree at least 2 more times before this story is done. On the one hand, I want to be annoyed that we're losing both of our mages. On the other hand, not only do they not have much MP left right now, so it's not much of a loss, this kingdom really doesn't have that many healers. And on that note, we are done for now. The actual battle starts next time.